You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. In this episode today, I'm going to talk you through what you can do to get more eyes on your website. You want more eyes on your website because it's kind of a numbers game. The average conversion is about 2%, meaning for every 100 people that come over to your website, about 2 will do something, and that's not even book in. So welcome to another episode of the podcast. If we haven't met yet, hey there, I'm Brooklyn, and I've just reviewed this week alone. Perhaps I haven't counted, but I think it's close to about another 200 websites as a result of a post that I put up recently. Well, when did I put it up? A couple of days ago. I put it up, a few different places. Anyway, long story, but there's some definite themes. And I thought, rather than, get back to everybody individually, I will just share it all here. One of the themes that sort of came through is that there's a real misunderstanding about how to get your website working. And by working, I think we're talking about converting, getting you inquiry calls or clients, if that's where you're at, or perhaps if you're running courses or you're selling digital products or, your passive income, getting sales or students or registrations for your event, things like that, right? We're talking about the same thing, conversion, somebody taking an action. So many people were saying, what do I need to do? What's the thing? And do you know what? By and large, I think the websites for most people are probably okay. There were maybe of the roughly 200, there were probably about 3 that I was, struggling to make any recommendations for, which is very unusual, but they were very, very well done. But even with those 3, there was something they were missing. Many people were sort of saying, I'm not sure why it's not working. And there are lots of reasons why. It could be design. It could be they're just making a potential. So they're called users when people come to your website, right? When a user comes to your website and you're making them jump through a bucket load of hoops to get started with you, that's a problem. If you've got a lot of distracting stuff, that's a problem. If you've got really big images taking up, half of the homepage, that's a problem. All those kinds of things. Yes, they're very, very important. There are a bunch of websites that aren't legally compliant in Australia. So I've messaged all of those people privately and just given them a bit of a heads up. So that's very important. Make sure your website is legally compliant. But the other thing that I'm going to talk about today is so many people are asking me about SEO. And here's the thing. SEO is important. However, I don't want you being stuck in the 2000s here, right? The 1990s or 2000s. At the same time, it's not that SEO isn't important. It is, but what's more impactful is your discoverability by AI. Now, like it or not, it's here and it is affecting your business. Whether or not you want to admit it, it is. So I want to talk you through what's happening that maybe you're not aware of because we don't see it, or, who cares? Like, I just want to work with the clients. I get it. But knowing that while the website isn't where clients are going to find you necessarily, but it is where roughly 80% of them are going to make the decision about whether or not they're going to work with you, it's very important that your website can be discovered. Also, things have changed. So even with Google Ads, right, they used to be all focused on the SEO, but now no. And apart from ads, you don't even have to pay for an ad now. If you've got good AI discoverability, if the AI can find you and recognize you, it will promote you free of charge right up the top of the search. So if you've been in Google lately. I'm sure we're all in it every day probably. You go and look for something. What will usually happen is, I was going to say in the old days, it's only recent comparatively, but in the old days, you used to pay money to Google so that it would put your page, even if your page was pretty bad, it would put it ahead of the people who had really, really good pages. And yours would be like one of the top 3 recommended, right? And that's very important. And the reason that you pay for that is because, in a way, people are lazy and they're just going to click one of the top 3, right? And it used to come up usually near a map or something like that. And yeah, that was how you got in front of people. That was how you built your business. Now, you still run Google Ads, yes, and it still looks at ranking to a degree. But what's more important is, understanding how AI is working behind the scenes so that you don't have to pay for ads and you can get the recommendations. Okay, so what's happening is SEO looks at, do you have the right words and the right headings and the right subheadings and all of the things that match what your user is putting into Google. Now, one of the headaches that a lot of women in private practice have when they make their website and they love it and it's beautiful and they poured their heart and soul into it, but it's not working, and they send me a screenshot of their Google Analytics, I can see one of the issues is nobody's finding it because Google ain't sharing it. And it's because it hasn't been optimized. Usually this is happening for people with very general messaging, right? The messaging that says right on the homepage when a user clicks in, that message says to that user, online and in-person psychology, Melbourne, right? So it's loaded up with SEO right from the start. There's no message to a client. Google rejects that because it's not adding value to the user. So although the SEO expert that you paid a lot of money to optimize your website has gone and jammed it right in the top there for you, they feel like they've done their job, and they have, but Google is like, that's the first thing your client's going to see. Your client doesn't care about that. And then if you've got a message underneath that that's very general, as I was saying a moment ago, that just says something along the lines of, walking beside you on your life transitions, right? Google can't share that with anyone because nobody's Googling that. When people are typing into a search, they're wanting their itch to be scratched. There's something that's not right in their world. They need it to be fixed in our industry, usually, okay? Coaching, it's different. Coaching is very less about healing, less about journeys, things like that. Coaching is usually more results focused, action focused, forward focused, that kind of outcomes focus. It's higher energy. But with counseling, with psychology, with social work, different kettle of fish, right? And so they're usually typing something into Google like, how do I stop fighting with my partner? I'm worried they're going to leave me if we can't sort out our arguments, whatever. But you get the idea. So it's like quite a specific thing. So when you have that very broad message there, while it might feel true and aligned and authentic and genuine to you, it's not shareable. So it's not getting shared. And that's why you're not getting clients. But then the problem comes when we use an SEO tool, right? As I give all of my private clients that I work with inside Practice Momentum access to my SEO tools if they need them, right? If their page isn't performing yet, or if they've got a brand new website and we need to, get eyes on it, I will give them the tools. They can use the tools, get the SEO, go and put it on the page. But then what often happens is I take it off again because they're like, I don't like how it was rewritten. It doesn't sound like me, And so they'll, let's for example say that their SEO tool went and updated, a paragraph on their homepage to use specific words or to use specific thoughts or specific feelings or things like that. It changed the description maybe of the service that's been offered. And then the therapist looks at it and says, but I don't only work with women. I also work with men and teens and families and couples. So I'm going to delete all of the SEO stuff and I'm going to put it back. And then they'll come back to me later on and they'll say, I'm still not getting any clients from my website. I'm like, well, you didn't optimize it. Or they'll say, oh, I'm only going to just keep some bits and I'm going to, put the rest. And then, it's like they want to fight with the SEO. They're not understanding that if you want to help people, your website needs to be found. And so that's the function and the purpose of SEO. It's more important, is it more important to you that the website feels nice to you? Or is it more important, and you don't see any clients, or is it more important that the website can be quickly presented to a client who's looking for what you offer so that they can click on it, explore what you do, and then book an appointment? I know which one I would think is more important, but it's interesting because I think it's one of the things we have to wrap our heads around as practitioners, because we are very client facing in the early days because we don't understand business. We're still trying to understand getting our business heads on. And so it does feel a little bit clunky, or a little bit disconnected. So I think that's why you're going to really appreciate what's happening with the AI discoverability. I think this is really, 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 really going to work and feel congruent for so many practitioners. So the AI discoverability works differently. It looks for local and online businesses to recommend. And the way that it does that is it collects information from different sources. And the main source that it goes to for information is your website. In fact, there's data that shows that AI, when it's looking for information, gets 58% of that information about you from the website. So a couple of things. It's going to be making sure that you're a legitimate business. It's going to make sure that you offer a solution to what the client is asking, that the user is asking. So it's very important that the website is laid out well. So we don't want to have, for example, with blogs, lots of people do blogs and they will do multiple blogs all on different pages. That's a problem for AI because it has to then go and look at all of the different pages and then it waters down its understanding of what you do because it doesn't know which page is the best page, or it's got all of the information because it has trouble carrying over memory between the pages. So a better way to blog now is to put the blogs in the one section so everything is there, and then when the AI wants to go and check your blog, boom, it can access everything. It needs to, by a well-structured website for private practice, you just need to have about 6 tabs depending on what you offer. And they are home, about, services, fees, frequently asked questions, contact, and then optional ones would be blog or resources, right? So between 6 and 8 tabs, they're the ones. Don't get fancy with your names. Don't say, Brooklyn's, how Brooklyn got started. That's not a good tab name. The AI and the SEO are just going to look for the tab that says about, all right? Anyway, so having really good structure will help a lot. It needs to be informative, right? Informative means you need to have references. So if you're just listing your modalities, right? Why would you do that? I understand why it's happening. You probably looked at other people's websites and they've gone and listed things like CBT, MDR, act, all of the things. And so you've thought that's what to do. And so now you have a list of bullet points perhaps on your website that lists all these things that mean squat to a client, right? They have no clue what polyvagal means. They've got no, right? You have to assume that your audience has a year 7 reading level. They're 12 years old and they know nothing about what you do. They're not going to understand what polyvagal is. So we get around it with AI discoverability by including 2 things. One is explaining how it's relative and relevant to your clients. So I've been saying this for the longest time. If you've been listening, you will know. If you've had a website audit with me, I've said it to you, I'm sure. But explaining what it is in one sentence and why it is relevant to that client's problem. So if your client is having trouble sleeping at night because of her anxiety, don't just say, I offer polyvagal therapy, EMDR, CBT. Let us know. I offer CBT, which means, cognitive behavior therapy. The idea of CBT is that there's a relationship between, what we think, how we feel, and how we respond or react. And that when we change the way that we think about something, it then changes the way that we feel, which then changes our response or our reaction. And in my experience of 12 years working with women that have trouble sleeping as a result of their anxiety and they've got the busy thoughts spinning around, this has been one of the more effective strategies. So, that's why I use it. Do you see what I mean? Make it relevant to them. Don't just it's like whacking a whole lot of your CV onto a webpage. Who cares? We have to make it meaningful to them. And that's what AI looks for. Okay. So we want to start making the things on your website relatable everywhere. And we want to, where we can, show that we know our stuff. So you might have remembered a while ago, maybe it was, I don't know, maybe over Christmas. What are we now? April. Could have been over Christmas. I was doing tests and experiments on my Facebook business page. And, what was I going to say? I've just forgotten it. Oh, no. Somebody was asking me how come you're getting all of these badges? How come you're getting this extra reach? How come? And anyway, one of the things that I said was, I just want to make sure that that business page is a resource and it works for me. So even though I've got, I don't know, however many thousand followers, and they very rarely will comment, very rarely will give it a heart or a like, the algorithm is saying, they're not engaging with you, Brooklyn, but they're coming over, they're saving your content, they're coming back to it, they're spending time reading your stuff, they're downloading the thing, that's all invisible stuff that I can't see. And it's because I treat that page as a resource for my clients. They know, well, not just my clients, my audience, they know if they need to find something, they can go there and they can get it, right? And I give a mix of content. Different people like different things. So I will share my podcast episode. I will share a downloadable checklist. I will share a strategy, a tool, an insight, something like that. So that's what I'm saying. Start thinking about your website as a resource for your clients rather than somewhere to promote yourself. Okay. The second thing that AI looks at when it's assessing you is whether or not you have been mentioned in reputable sources. So whether or not your business has been mentioned by, I don't know, let's say Forbes magazine. You always see that as seen in those. That's what it's looking for, industry articles, things like that. For us, not only that, it's looking for trust, right? Which is why I also have always been saying for the longest time, put your logos on the website for your memberships. So if you're with PACFA, if you're with ACA, if you're with the AAPI and they give you permission to use a digital badge, put it on the website, even if it's just the one badge, okay? it doesn't matter where you put it. I would recommend you have it towards the footer of every single page, because it's a visual cue to prospective clients that you're trustworthy, that you're credible, that you know what you're doing, right? Very, very important. And the other thing that's super important here, as I said, it's 27% important when it comes to AI referring you, is making sure that you have some kind of recommendation, some kind of review and things like that. Now, I know that there are, it's a hot potato around getting reviews and things like that from clients. Some of you do it, some of you don't. I always say don't. I just think it's murky. I would never do it. And also Google have changed their requirements about Google reviews too. You can go and have a look for this yourself in Google. Go and search it up if you like. But Google is saying you're not allowed to solicit reviews from clients if the client is on site. You're not allowed to stand over someone's shoulder while they're doing it. You're not allowed to incentivize. So if you want a review, you can't say to somebody, I'll give you a discount or I'll give you a jelly bean, if you do this review. Can't do that. The review is not allowed to mention your name. All those kinds of things. Like, it's getting hard to get reviews now, and Google are tidying all of this up. So anyway, it's wanting to get genuine reviews and genuine articles, which brings me to the next thing, which again, I've been talking about for a long time, but it comes back to the trust and the authenticity. So as I've mentioned recently, last few AI episodes, Google and Meta, for example, are downranking, right, websites that have a certain percentage of AI content, because they're calling it AI slop. I know it's not a nice phrase, but there's been an explosion of, really bad quality AI generated images and copy being distributed online. And it's taking away business from Google. It's taking away business from Instagram. It's taking away business from Facebook and YouTube and things like that. And that's why they're all now saying, we've updated our policies. From now on, we are going to be giving ranking preferences to the people who just do it themselves. So what does it mean for you? It's not, you can't use AI. You can still use AI, but refine what you're putting out, okay? Don't just copy and paste and whack it up. You're only shooting yourself in the foot. It's not worth it. I know it's quicker to do it that way, and I know that some of you are time poor or you're avoidant. It's like you just don't like writing for LinkedIn anymore, and you're just kind of over it, and something is better than nothing. And I totally get that. But what's the point if no one's going to see it? Right? There's no point. You're just wasting your time. And also remember that you've got, well, I believe this is true for you as well, but I know with my audience, based on conversations I have with the women that I work with, that they tend to lurk before they work with me, meaning they won't engage, they won't comment, they're not going to heart things, like things, da-da-da-da-da. They're sort of hanging back, just watching. It takes time to build trust and rapport and connection and all those kinds of things. So when you're putting out AI content or content that's heavily written by AI, and you've got the AI generated image and all of that kind of going along with it, what's happening for you is the people that are seeing your stuff that you don't know about, your silent audience, are looking at it and going, well, I could have got this off ChatGPT. And they're going to go and they're going to work with somebody else who's being authentic, right? It's a trust thing. So yeah, if you're struggling with your marketing and you do use AI to support you with writing, think about using it differently so that it will really, really help you. Okay. Now, when AI is evaluating your content, it is looking for a few things. It's looking to see how well your content is being consumed based on helpfulness. So if you're writing very vague general things, it's unlikely to be helpful. It wants to see that you do understand what's going on for your client. It wants to see nice formatting, right? Not everything sort of running edge to edge on the screen with multiple fonts. You should only have 2 fonts, perhaps 3, but 2 fonts usually on your website. It needs to have lots of nice space between. It should feel nice and, my word of the year again, spacious. It should feel nice and spacious. And it should also, yes, include SEO, but it should feel natural in the language. It shouldn't feel like the SEO has been obviously jammed into paragraphs and sentences. So it really is looking for, is your private practice legit? Is it credible? And is it relevant to what your potential client is looking for? Which means stop with generic messaging. Don't say you help everyone of all the ages with all the things, with all the modalities. Say it if you want. I'm sure there's always an exception to the rule. There'll be some people that are saying, well, I've got general, it's fine for me. Great. Not talking to you. I'm talking to the other people who are struggling, right? And maybe you started off with a niche, and maybe you started off with a very clear specific message and very clear specific content, and you weren't getting inquiries. It was probably nothing to do with your website, and it was probably everything to do with other things, like how you're driving traffic to it, user experience, less about the content and everything. But when you say, oh, I'm just gonna, this isn't working for me, I can't be turning away people, I need clients, it doesn't make sense for me to niche because I'm desperate, and then you just rewrite the website and you make it very broad, you cast the wider net, what happens is it's a false economy. You're thinking, because I'm available for everyone for all of the things now, I'm going to get more work. But no, what happens is now you can't be found. And then you're getting imposter syndrome, then you're getting frustrated, then you're getting mad at people who've tried to give you guidance or strategies or tools or tips or advice because, you feel like nothing's working. It's not that nothing's working, it's that you haven't done all of the steps, that's all. And you won't know all of the steps unless you've got somebody to help you. But also you got to implement all of the steps. And yes, if one of the steps is refining a message so that it sounds to the potential client like, this is exactly what I need, right? If it's about that and you're still doing vague messages that are clearly AI, and your business coach is telling you, hey, we still need to fix it. And you're like, I fixed it 6 times and I'm sick of fixing it. Give me something else. What's the point, right? There's no point. If you're not going to do the strategy, don't do the coaching. You have to understand that there will be refining and you will bump into your own blocks as a practitioner, because all your stuff's going to come up about, am I good enough? Why isn't this working for me? I published my website 6 weeks ago and I still don't have a client. It's not working. So I'm going to get rid of my niche and start again. And you're doing that in the middle of the 90 days while the algorithm's getting to know you and it's baking and it's warming up. You've just gone and reset the algorithm. And now you're going to be like, I've changed my website 6 times this year and it's still not working. Websites suck. They don't work. Trust me, I've tried. But you're not following the things. This is why it's not working. The people who've got the website that leave them alone once they're set up, and they're set up correctly, properly, after they've done all the refining, get the results, no problem. So there are some things that you can do to help AI find your private practice so that it can send more people to the website so that then you can get more inquiries. So first one, going to be, let's optimize the website so that AI can find it. So we want to make sure when you do your website, especially if you did it yourself and you're new to this, once it's published, go and open it up on your device, like your mobile phone. Just check that it looks okay. Sometimes websites look a little bit weird on a mobile phone, but they look great on a desktop. It's usually an easy fix, but definitely worthwhile checking. You want to make sure when you're talking about what you do, who you help, all those kinds of things, that you're using a very clear description of everything that you do, because the more descriptive it is, the more chances you have of AI finding you. So rather than just saying something like, anxiety and then depression and then ADHD, right? Instead of listing stuff, talk about, or instead of saying counseling, individual counseling, couple, click here to book, include descriptive language about what that is, what it looks like, who benefits from it, who it's probably not a great option for, what people can expect in that first session. So talk us through it, right? And if you're doing anything that's in person or on site or local or things like that, of course, use the location and use words that indicate location. You could talk about landmarks in your area that people know, all that kind of stuff will really, really help a lot. Okay. The other thing too, and again, I've said this before, on every single page, include a mini frequently asked questions. I do it on this podcast since I first learned about it, and it's really helped my reach. And that's important because reach is people in your audience, and you want to be growing your audience all of the time, because without an audience to buy from you, what's the point of selling anything? Like your therapy sessions, right? It's like shouting into the void. If nobody's there to hear it, if you don't have an audience there, you could tell us all day long on Instagram how available you are for the next 2 weeks or something. Who cares? No one's going to see it. That's why you want to be growing your audience all the time. I think that's really overlooked. I think a lot of the time women in private practice focus on how many inquiries they're getting without understanding there's this whole process. There's a 4-stage process that your clients have to go through first. And for your business, growing the audience is the first step in that, right? Anyway, so definitely consider having a mini frequently asked questions at the bottom of each page. The reason that we want to do that is because, I was going to say back in the day, we would just, all of us, go into Google and we would type a search phrase that maybe had 3 to 5 words, right? But because now we've got ChatGPT, for example, we're all getting used to being able to have conversations, go back and forward, write long sentences, things like that, ask full sentence questions. Now that seems to be transitioning over to Google and other search engines. So we now go in there and we write a full sentence, and maybe your full sentence doesn't even fit in that, where you can put your query. And anyway, that's why having a frequently asked question will really help you. The other reason is AI is about question and answer. So AI is listening. What is a user searching for? What is the question that user is asking? And where is a business answering that? And that's why it's very, very important to have frequently asked questions on each page of your website. So you want them on the home, about, services, all of that. So they should be relevant to the content that's on that page. They should be very, very specific. Think about the common questions that you might type in. Think about the actual words, phrases, that your clients are typing in, right? What are they asking? You want to, instead of blogging about what's on your heart and what you want to talk about that day, turn frequently asked questions into blog posts. Make your website a resource that your ideal client can come to get the information they're looking for. It's also really, really helpful, again, to share stories. So for the longest time, I've been talking with you about share stories of shifts, change, progress, results, transformation. De-identify them. You don't have to talk about individual people. You don't have to get permission. de-identify it completely. You can do compilations of a bunch of stories. Maybe you see 10 women who are 45 and they've all been late diagnosed with ADHD and they're all victims of workplace bullying, right? It's pretty much a consistent client avatar, if you like. There's going to be overlap with all of their stories. Pull the overlap together and turn it into a story and say, this is a typical story, right? Whack your disclaimer on it. But things like that really work because A, they tend to be longer. B, when they're longer, they keep people on the page. So that helps the algorithm. Then C, you've got more words. And because you're writing more words, you're likely, without realizing it, answering questions that your potential clients are typing in. Very, very important to do them. There are ways of sharing stories and things like that. Absolutely. The other things that will really help is if you are doing blogs and you're mentioning a strategy or a modality or whatever it is, outcomes and things, find a piece of verifiable research to back it up and include it as a clickable link or a footnote or something like that. It shows that you know what you're talking about, that you're serious, that you're professional, and that's a cue for AI. It's a confidence cue for AI, meaning that AI feels confident sharing your information. The other thing that is really, really important for AI visibility is making sure you have all of the information that a client looks for in your industry when they're deciding on purchasing a service or a product. And for us, that means having the tab that says fees. Now, I don't know why some people refuse to put it on. I think it's fear, oh, well, I'll see the price and then they won't work with me. So it's better if I just get them on a discovery call. I know some people have told me that's what they think. Other people are like, well, I can't put it on because I work with somebody on EAP and I only get paid $80 for seeing that person on EAP. So then it's not fair if I go and put on my fees page that individual counselling is $160 because then they're going to think, well, maybe I should just be paying the $80 because it's only $80 with the EAP. And so they get all in their heads, right? And not realising is deterring people. People are clicking off their website and they're going and booking with the person who does have the fees. People have a right to know. If you're talking about being authentic, genuine, honest, safe space, why on earth are you hiding information from your clients? It's not working for your client. It doesn't work for Google. It does not work for AI. You're missing out on getting people over to the website. Now, the thing about making sure that your business is being mentioned. Yes, you can get trust logos and things like that, but they need to be relevant to your audience. If you go and have a trust logo, like if I had an article and it was published in, no offense to this publication, I'm just giving an example of what wouldn't work for my audience. But if, there's a magazine in Australia, I think it's like $5 or something to buy. What's it called? The puzzles. My mum gets it. That's how I know it. What's it called? That's Life, right? There's another one called Take 5. The ones, they're just like puzzle magazines and you can win the money, but they're also kind of like a cheap tabloid with like the really outrageous stories and stuff like that. Now, if they had a position going for the agony aunt and I was like successful and I got the job and now I get to answer all of the readers' mail, answer their problems, and I put on my website, agony aunt for That's Life magazine, I don't think that's going to cut the mustard for my audience. I think they're going to be like, oh, that's a bit embarrassing. Versus if I said, I am on the special advisory board to Australia's largest peak body for vocationally qualified mental health professionals, and I put that logo there, my audience is going to go, well, that makes sense because it's more relevant, right? So don't just go and get any logo. Don't just go and get mentioned by or quoted by anything. It's got to be relevant to your audience, okay? Very, very important. But also the thing is, we need to make sure that you have consistency with the content that you're putting out. Very important. if you are using social media, which I generally don't recommend, if you're going to be on socials, I say Facebook every time, hands down, and I've got so much data that backs that up for us. I still to this day don't understand why so many therapists are, putting themselves through the drama of posting on Instagram. And I think there are a lot of people who either don't know how to do it, or they know how to do it, can't be bothered, are time poor, not into it, just want to tick it off, and they spam the internet and they just put the same piece of content everywhere, not realizing they're getting shadow banned. Shadow ban means it only goes to, a very small number of existing followers. So some people will say that they're seeing it, but generally it's not getting in front of any new people. You're not growing your audience. But if you have your niche and you've got that really clear message, you're going to have a few things that you are known for, a few things that you talk about all the time. So talk about those things all the time and don't deviate from them. When you do this, it helps you build authority. So one of the things that I often talk about, and I didn't realize this until somebody brought it to my attention a few months ago. She wanted to work with me and I asked her why. And, she said, I've been with her for ages, And she said, you're really good with marketing. I need help with marketing. You're the marketing person. You're known for marketing for therapists in private practice. So that's why I want to work with you. I need clients. I need eyes on my site. I need, new EAP contracts, or I want to get out of EAP and I need private clients. I need students. I need, for my courses, I need to create passive income. You're my person because of the marketing. Now, I never saw myself as being known for marketing, but even as recently as, this week, it's become evident that I've kind of moved into, I've got, a presence around helping practitioners, women practitioners, market their businesses. I love doing it. It was not my intention to do that or be known for that, but I am. I just happen to love it and it comes through, right? The other thing that I really love to talk about is AI. And so now people are starting to see, oh, she's also the person to speak to about AI in private practice. And how can I use it to get clients, to market the business, or make money, set up passive income, all those kinds of things. So you need to be known. What do you want your business to be known for? Think of a few things and only talk about those things, all right? And if you're going to be on multiple platforms, refine what you're putting out there so that it matches what's sought after and recognized by that platform. And FYI, Instagram just had another massive update, not even 48 hours ago. I will do another podcast episode for you on that soon. And just, of course, making sure that I think at the end of the day, if you do nothing else, the things, everything that you put on your website, from the hero section right up the top on the homepage, right through to the contact page, if it's helpful, it will get recommended. If it's vague, if it's general, if there's not enough, right, you're not going to get recommended. So be really, really clear about who you are, who you help, all those kinds of things. At the same time, who you don't. It will improve the quality of the recommendations that you get, the referrals that you get, things like that. But what we really want to do is generate that consistency across the board. The other thing that will really, really help you is having original images. If you're working from home, like I do, have images of you at the computer, have images of, some of my best ones are me and my dog, you and your coffee cup looking out the window. Don't use stock images. When you're putting the images up, instead of just uploading a file called untitled17.png, put your name, right? Or put who you help, or put what you do, because that gets read by the AI and SEO. The pictures don't. So very, very important. The pictures do, but it's, when I say not get read, the information in it doesn't get read. What gets read is whether it was stock or whether it was original. It does that through meta tags and all those kinds of things. And as you've heard me say before, you're getting bumped to the bottom. You're getting sent to the back of the queue the more AI you've got. use your own photos. If you're working from home and, you're scrounging around, start taking pictures of your books, the pens on the desk, the cup of tea. Go into neighbouring suburbs, maybe not where you live, but maybe neighbouring suburbs within like a 20-minute radius, and take pictures of yourself near landmarks, right? Things like that will really, really help you. All those things. So I hope that this was useful, helpful. You can take it and run with it. If you want me to have a look at your website and give you a hand, I can absolutely do that for you. I will put a link to the website wellness check in the show notes, or, and I'll put in the comments when I share this on Facebook. Thank you so much for being part of my world. I have to go to a meeting now, but I will talk to you soon. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorme.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.